everybody, and welcome to the Rubbin' is Racing Daily Fantasy NASCAR Show, brought to you by FantasyDonks.com, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know to start playing daily fantasy sports. I'm Sean Big Papa Williams, and with me always is Jamie the Learjet Lear.
What's up, everybody?
And we'll be breaking down this week's race, the Toyota Save Mart 350 from Sonoma Raceway in Sonoma, California, here shortly. But you know we like to keep us honest. And first, we're going to start off with it was actually 2 weeks ago's race.
Yeah, it's nice to be back, man. The little week break there was kind of nice. Got my son's second birthday in the middle of that, so that was nice to get that taken care of without having to, deal with the show. But it's good to be back, man. I'm ready to.
It was kind of nice having Father's Day off.
Yeah.
Even though it was happy not a Father's Day for me, so.
Yeah. Soon, man, soon.
All right. So on that note, let's talk about last week's race. And last week's race, the winning team from the Lugnut had Clint Boyer, Kurt Busch, Casey Mears, Paul Menard, and Martin Truex Jr., with Kurt Busch pulling in the majority of the points with the win at 75.75 points. As you'll see here in a few minutes, that was my epic fail last week.
Yeah.
Saying that he was going to the garage. So,
one thing that we were right on is, we did talk about 2 weeks ago how with the weather that it was, 60% chance of precipitation that could come into play, and that definitely came to fruition with the race being stopped. And we talked about the person that was in first when the race was stopped, and they called it, and Kurt Busch was the lucky guy, number one.
And unfortunately, when the rain comes into play, it's a roll of the dice.
Yeah.
My guys were not where they needed to be when the rain came. So
I hear you there, man.
It was not a solid week for me last week, 2 weeks ago in fantasy NASCAR. But we've been hitting on a couple of our picks. We've been missing on a couple of them. I remember 2 weweeks ago you hit on the Logano pick pretty well.
Yeah. He did a good job. First and foremost, I most misspoke in regards to all that. I know that he's on the Penske Racing team. I have no idea why that I said he was with JGR. It's because, I still think of him, I guess, sometimes driving the number 20 Home Depot car. He's with Pennzoil in the number 22 Penske vehicle. So, he finished top five, finished right there at the fifth position, scored 51.25 points. He definitely was worth the money that you paid for him.
Don't beat yourself up about that later. It's easy to have brain farts when you're doing these shows. I also hit on that Larson pick that I had last week.
Yeah.
Finished 17th. Had some good points, got a 31.75. It wasn't bad for his price point.
He almost took it down 2 weeks ago, too, because he was leading the race, took a strategy to where he wanted to stay out, basically try to get it to where, I don't know if you were watching the race or not, and you saw his crew chief, doing the little thing with his hands, wanting the rain to come down, but didn't quite work out for him. But
unfortunately, his rain dance was about 2 laps too late.
Yeah, it was, but good luck this week, Kyle. I know you're watching the show, buddy.
We had the Ty Dillon pick that worked pretty well last week.
Ty Dillon, he started 22nd and finished the race in 14, scored 40.5 points for you. So at his price point at $7,700, that was a very good play, to get you in there to get double-digit points, scoring 40 points. So that was a good play for anybody that played him.
And now it's that unfortunate part of the recap where we talk about how bad my going to the garage pick was last week.
The Kurt Busch pick, man, it happens sometimes. At his price point with his going to the backup car, everything stacked against him, and the guy came and he won the race. And
we've said this multiple times. It's important in daily fantasy to have a short memory. And what I mean by that is sometimes the data and the analysis can tell you everything, and it works out really well on paper. And in reality, the sport just doesn't break down that way. NASCAR, we've seen this year, has been another example of how that happens in daily fantasy. So just keep with it. Don't get frustrated. Just know that you were doing the right work and that your head was in the right place. It just didn't pan out.
Right. And, you're putting in the work. You're it's learning. It's still early. with NASCAR.
Oh, yeah.
People learning how to play it, and I know we are too each week. So definitely, like Pop said, don't get discouraged and keep going, and it's bound to pay off here at some point. So
and that's the unique thing about this broadcast and about our site is we're the only site out there that shows you an actual lineup that we submit into these contests and give you the option of either copying that lineup or taking it, running a one-off strategy or a couple-off strategy.
Bits and pieces of our teams.
And we hold ourselves accountable. We want you guys to see what we're doing in our thought process and know from people that play all the time, like how it reacts and how we react to those situations. So hopefully you enjoy those segments, and hopefully, even though the recap didn't work out the best for me this week, it also didn't work out the best for Lear last week either with his Hamlin pick.
My Denny Hamlin play, he was my going to the garage guy. He started 13th, finished 11th. Same thing. He was trending back and forth with the race, but 10,900 scored 38.75. So he didn't rock the world with his finishes and with his pass differential. Positive point guy, but
he also didn't kill you.
No.
That's and sometimes that's going to happen, as we've said. But the important thing is we're moving on. We've got our guys locked in for this week, and hopefully we'll give you better plays. And finally, on the last week's recap section, Lear's going to give you the worst driver and the best driver. Lear, who was the worst driver last week?
So worst driver, the guy that's cost everybody the most money each single week of the inception since DraftKings came out with Fantasy NASCAR was Kevin Harvick. He started second. He finished the race 29th. So, at a price point of $13,900 and only scoring 4.75 points, he definitely burned a lot of owners 2 weeks ago at the Quicken Loans 400. So, very disappointing for people who had him on their team.
Yeah, it was a lineup killer if you had him on your team. Who was the best play last 2 weeks ago?
And then the best play was Clint Boyer. The guy started out at 32nd, finished 10th. And at a price point of $8,700, he's definitely was a good price and a good buy for anybody that picked him up. He scored 61 points, so he was second behind Kurt Busch, who won the race. So with his pass differential was starting so late and then finishing up in the top 10, got him quite a few points. So he was definitely one of the guys that you wanted on your team back at the Quicken Loan 400. So. All
right. Well, now that we've got last week's 2 weeks ago's race to recap, let's move right along to this week's race. It is the Toyota Save Mart 350 from Sonoma Raceway in Sonoma, California. And with the weather and track breakdown, here's Lear.
So this week we're racing the Toyota Save Mart 350 at Sonoma, California. It's definitely a lot different than most of the tracks that we have on the schedule here with NASCAR, with it being a road race. It was established back in 1968. It's got 12 different turns throughout the race. And then as far as that goes, too, it's 110 laps as far as the duration of the race. And the track is 1.99 miles long. And a lot of guys in this race, the guys that qualified up front, usually stay up front because there's not a very ton of cautions throughout the race. Through the average of all the years, the average amount of cautions is 5.34. So almost between 5 to 6 cautions for every Sonoma race. So they're also going to have some wrecks there too, because these guys are going through these hairpin turns. Half the cars getting up off the ground when they're going around the turns, and you got other guys right next beside you. So a lot of fender to quarter panel bumping going on there. Yeah. So that's actually how Matt Kenseth got taken out last year by Dale Earnhardt Jr. Was that taking place? So there's going to be some wrecks going on, but too with the double lane starts and the restarts. It's going to make it interesting with guys bumping and grinding each other.
Well, and what I would like to say is with it being a road course, and as you said, like people in the front tend to stay in the front, and there's not a whole lot of pack movement. I think that puts a premium on guys that can lead laps this week and guys that have the potential for fastest laps.
Yeah, definitely.
Those points are going to be your separator points. What we've seen on road courses in the past is the guys in the back of the pack stay in the back, the guys in the middle of the pack stay in the middle, and the guys in the top race for the win. Yeah. And I think that's going to play out here in Sonoma as we've seen in previous years.
And as far as the weather, it's 10% chance of rain for Sonoma on Sunday. The race starts at 3 p.m. Eastern time on Fox. But
there are people freaking out about that 10% chance.
And I don't get it. I don't understand that, but because I think it's going to be sunny throughout the whole time the race is going to take place, and we're going to finish this baby this week. So, as
someone that's lived in Northern California, if it's a Northern California shower, it'll last probably all of 30 minutes, and it'll be what the rest of the world classifies as a sprinkle.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be too concerned about the weather in Sonoma. But now that we've got the weather and the track capped up, let's go ahead to the Who's Burning Rubber segment.
Burning Rubber!
And I'll start off with my first pick. And if you've watched the show previously, it should be no surprise. I am on the Jeff Gordon train, especially at his home track, a track that he has destroyed. Look, his price tag's $11,300 this week on DraftKings. He qualified 5th. He's retiring, and he's going to be driving the AARP car. How perfect is that?
Kind of ironic, huh?
Oh, dude, that is great. Yeah. Anybody in retirement, the promo in the AARP car, it is fabulous. Like if that's not a storyline, like for when, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
But there's a little bit more addition to that storyline. Sonoma already presented him with a giant, like 5-gallon wine bottle where it called him the hometown hero and labeled off all 5 of his wins. I think Gordon's going to want them to have to reprint that bottle and add this year's date to it and put 6-time winner here. I think his old ass is going to run real good this week and try to take down his home track on his final year. Everybody keeps saying he's due for a win. I know I've rode this train for like the past few weeks.
Every week.
This is going to be the week. And if not, you know what? I may ride the Jeff Gordon train next week. Who knows?
Yeah.
I'm just, you pay homage to one of the greats, and he really is one of the greats.
I give it to you there. Jeff Gordon qualified 4th today for the Sonoma race tomorrow. So definitely going to be up there with a chance to, take it down if he can last the whole entire race up there and not get involved in any wrecks or anything like that. I personally am off the Jeff Gordon train this week, just basically because of his price point. I don't know. I'm not feeling it for Jeff Gordon this week, but I wish I luck.
It's
buddy,
okay, dude. I'm feeling Jeff Gordon enough for the both of us.
Okay.
So, all right, who's your first pick of the Burning Rubber segment?
My first pick of Burning Rubber this week is a guy that is very familiar with road courses. He's going to be a very, very, very popular pick amongst all the DFS NASCAR players this week.
I already know where you're at.
And he's at such a great price point, $8,300. I'm referring to the Dinger, AJ Allmendinger.
Qualified first today.
He qualified first. I actually picked him before they even had any qualifying for my team this week. But, as far as it goes, the guy, started second last year. He did finish pretty late, 37th. But just with his experience, with him qualifying first this week, and his price point, $8,300, I think it's an automatic buy for most of the players out there doing the GPPs. So,
well, I want to talk about this for a second. DraftKings is really messed up, in my opinion. They didn't adjust the prices on these guys, and as we've said before, a road course is completely different than any of the standard speedway tracks. And with that said, they needed to go in and adjust guys like AJ Allmendinger, who has a history of being an awesome road course guy. I mean, 8,300. Everyone in the free world is going to be on this pick. Well, I'm on this pick. I was on this pick before he qualified first as well. So
just percentage wise, what do you feel like his percentages owned are going to be in a GPP?
In all honesty, it should be around 80% at that price.
You think
point.
That high?
And if that's the case, free fade. Right,
yeah, pretty much.
You might as well plug and play him in your lineup, and you're going to get a free fade.
Yeah.
And the only thing that if he does terrible, 20% of the field will not have him.
Right.
But at that price point, at the 8,300, their odds are they're going to have somebody in the back of the pack that they're buying instead of him.
Yeah.
Instead of the guy that's leading the race, and it doesn't make sense to fade him, in my opinion, unless you're wanting to be super contrarian. And at that point, it's almost being contrarian for the sake of being contrarian.
Yeah. And, you got to choose something to separate yourself from the rest of the population. But
in cash games, I would say he has a 95% ownership percentage. Yeah. In tournaments, I'm guessing close to 80. That price is just too low.
Yep, I agree with you.
But I love Allmendinger this week. I think he has a great chance to win. And you'll see a little bit later when I show you my lineup. I had him plugged into mine too.
And it's one thing with Allmendinger, compared to some of these other racing teams, is he's on a smaller team, JTG, Doherty Racing, with Brad Doherty as the owner, the former NBA basketball player, NASCAR analyst. I'm sorry, but they don't have the ability for quite the equipment, but the driver makes the separation here, and I'm all over AJ Allmendinger this week.
Yeah,
loving the dinger.
I understand why. My second pick for the burning rubber segment is Martin Truex Jr. He's 11,200. He qualified 12th today. He's a favorite to win according to Vegas and the international odds makers. He's one of the top favorites at a 6-1 odds. Jeff Gordon, Allmendinger, and there's a couple others up there that are 6-1 to win this week. I like him there. I think he's way underpriced at 11,200. If you look at what he's been doing on the track in the recent weeks, he should be priced up there with Kenseth and Busch, but he's not. And there's just no reason why. I'm worried that the free world is also going to be on this pick as well. But I love the way he looks on road courses. I love what he's been doing, and the guy is just on fire. And if I've learned anything about certain sports, you stick with the guy that's on fire until it's broke. And
yeah, I mean he's been rolling each week, and he's very steady, and one of those guys that he'll have a good chance to move up in the top 10, top 5.
Yeah.
He won the race back in 2013, so he's got some experience here at Sonoma in winning some races. So, he knows what it's like as far as this road course. So,
and see, that's what I like about him qualifying 12th is I know how good he is. So I have that ability for him to gain in the field.
Yeah.
But still, he's not slow enough that I don't think he can be the fastest car out there, and I don't think that he can not lead laps. Like the double negative there, that was pretty impressive. All right, dude. Who is your second pick for the burning rubber?
My second burning rubber pick this week is a local guy here from the state of Missouri. Grew up in Joplin. We share the same name, Jamie McMurray. I know the guy's just a really good road course racer when it comes down to the Sonoma Raceway. Last year he qualified high. He's actually qualified number 1 the last 2 consecutive years. This is the first year where he hasn't qualified in the first spot. So he usually does have pretty fast cars when he comes to the Sonoma Raceway. His average finish within the last 3 races are 16.7, and then overall, he's currently one of the ones that is very, very reasonable when it comes to his price point. He's $10,100. So, he's probably going to be pretty high owned when it comes to him being on people's teams this week, because he's just. That's the average is 10,000 for your 5 drivers. So you're talking about an extra $100 for Jamie McMurray for a guy who, more than likely is going to have a really good shot at actually taking home the victory this week. So,
you're going to see when we get to lineup time. This is another one of the guys that I really like this week.
Yeah.
The price point's right, as you said. His history on the track is right. Everything all the indicators point to Jamie Mack having a great day, and I love this pick. I'm all in with you on this pick.
and he qualified 18th, so he's definitely going to have a chance to move up and get some pass differential points for you.
But once again, it's not far enough back that I don't feel that he wouldn't be able to move up.
to move up throughout the duration of the race. And then he actually holds the fastest lap record at Sonoma as well. There's just a lot.
He did until today.
Okay, but there's just a lot of positive things going on for Jamie Mack this week in that Chip Ganassi Racing team. So, I definitely like Jamie McMurray this week, and he is my second burning rubber driver.
All right, now we're going to move along to our Who's Going to the Garage segment. Hopefully, we can do better than last week. Than 2 weeks ago. We'll start off with Lear's pick here. Give him a chance to go first.
So this week, my going to the garage is a guy that he's racing for JGR, Joe Gibbs Racing. I did verify check this. He does race for JGR Racing. Nice. But Matt Kenseth, the guy has a really, really just horrible history here at Sonoma, and even working against him, even after today, is the guy qualified third, and all the direction that he has to go is that way.
Right.
Just based off of his history here, his average finish is 24.67 in all of his attempts here at Sonoma Raceway, and at a price point of $10,900. He's kind of in the mix with some of those upper middle tier guys, and just for the price, where he's starting, and his history at the track, I just don't foresee Matt Kenseth coming out with very many points this week. Maybe 10 points, but that's it.
And that's on the high side. To be honest, in my opinion, I agree with you here. I don't like the way Kenseth performs. I think he's way overqualified. And if you're qualifying high and you have a good history, I'll play you every day. But if you qualify high and you don't run well traditionally on the track, that just spells disaster to me. And I'm avoiding Kenseth like the plague as well. Now, an interesting thing, since he did qualify this high, and since we've already said that all the other people pretty much are going to be on certain drivers this week, he might make a nice contrarian play.
Yeah.
But even at that, I think he's overpriced. And you're like, in order to make that contrarian play, you're going to have to hope he stays in the front of the pack.
Right.
Right. B, then that he has to, after he stays in the front of the pack, he has to do it for the whole race, which he's failed to do in every start here. That's why I'm avoiding it, and I would encourage you to do the same.
And last year, he got took out by Dale Earnhardt going around that corner. It's just one of those things with based on the driver, the track history. I would stay away from Matt Kenseth this week. But if you want to be one of those that, like Papa says in the past, be on an island. Might be a guy for you.
Might get you on an island. All right, now it's my turn for the who's going to the garage, and some people may think this is a little bit cheating. I think it's actually giving you a little bit more value than normal just saying one person. I'm going to tell you to avoid all the bottom tier drivers. Look, I've said it before and I'll say it again. There are just some guys that aren't good on road courses. Some guys just like to turn left. And they do nothing but fall back in the pack and ultimately end up getting lapped and being in the way of the fast cars on the track. And I think everyone below Casey Mears' price point, I think Casey Mears is fine to play as a value play. I actually like him. Everyone listed below on DraftKings, Casey Mears, I'd avoid like the plague. And that $7,600 line seems to be the bare minimum.
Yeah.
If you go below that, those guys are just going to be in the back of the field. They're not going to do anything for you.
You're fishing.
Exactly. And I'll even give you two drivers above that price point, not much above it, that I would also avoid: Danica Kirkpatrick and Tony Stewart. I don't like Patrick and I don't like Stewart. They have terrible histories on the road courses. Danica qualified high today. Just look for her to fall back as well. You have to use history when you're evaluating a lot of this, and their history just does not pan out well.
Yeah, and I agree with Papa in regards to as far as the field. When you get down that far, because most of those guys are going to be starting way back in the field, and the opportunity and the chances for them to move up are going to be few and far between, and Slim just actually walked out the door. So I would totally avoid some of these lower tier guys as well. So
all right, well, now that we got those segments wrapped up, let's go to our actual lineup section. This is where Lear has to all move and get his laptop for you,
because
it locked. He hasn't high teched it up like me with the mobile mouse and the screen a little farther away. All right. Just to give you my lineup for this week, I started off with the Dinger, Lear's pick. At the $8,300 price tag, you just can't lose. No,
it's a win-win all the way around. The guy's going to finish up in the top 5 probably this week, leading a lot of laps. Last year he did have a good amount of laps led as well. It's just going to be one of those things where he's just going to be really, really highly owned.
Yeah, and because of that price tag, that's where I wanted to start my team. So I knew what it looked like from then on out. And I went from there to Jeff Gordon. As you know, I love Jeff Gordon. I'm all over that. Then I went from at the 11,300. It fits well in there. I went from there to Martin Truex Jr., as I told you earlier. Love that play this week. And it fits out nice. And when you do that, You have enough money left to buy Jamie Mack.
Yeah, my driver.
He's my fourth. And then I reached a little, but it's a guy who has good odds according to Vegas, and a guy that runs well in this track statistically, and he qualified in that nice upper pack where they can still move up, they won't fall back. I like Clint Boyer at the $8,900 price tag to round out my team, and I actually have $200 left over, and that's the team that you will see me having in the 5K lug nut. And at this point, 5 other contests, I've got that lineup rolling in.
Oh, overall, it's definitely a good lineup from top to bottom. It's taking that strategy of not doing studs, duds. We're doing majority of the kind of middle tier guys. So, but the history of all these guys that you have on your team, they do really well here at Sonoma. So I'm hoping that it pays off for you, brother.
Well, thank you. I need some luck after the past couple of weeks. I tend to find, as you guys probably know, all the drivers that randomly wreck their car.
Get wrecked or just horribly have a finish in the
blow a motor, like all the things you can't predict. Somehow I've been on a tear of that recently. All right, Lear, what's your lineup look like this week?
So my lineup this week, as you can see, I went the Western route this week. Decided to shave off the beard. Brought out my cowboy hat. Went with cowboy, shirt.
It's a great look. I can't tell if you're going to a rodeo.
Also the boots.
I can't.
And you can see the Wranglers are on there too.
I can't tell if he's trying to go to a rodeo or be a 70s porn star. But it's a great look for you, Larry.
So that's for you, Kimmy. But my team this week, same thing as Papa. Starting out with the Dinger, AJ Allmendinger. I love this guy this week. He's qualified first. We've talked about him enough already, but
dude, if it's a free fade, I would recommend everybody start off there.
Yeah,
right. Just that lets you
the price point, the driver, the track. It just all adds to a great pumpkin pie.
Fair enough. All right, who's your second driver?
Second driver, and again, pre-show, Pop and I talked about our drivers and who we were going to pick, and man, wouldn't you know it, 3 out of the 5 we have the same people.
Nice.
So either great minds think alike,
or we're in a world of hurt.
Yeah, one of the two. And I'm praying it be the early part of that. But, my second driver is Clint Boyer. The guy won this race back in 2012. He's always been a good road racer. He did qualify in the 10th position this week. So he's going to have a good. He qualified 6th. Qualified 6th. And at an 8,900 price point, the guy for the amount that he costs, he's just going to have a good chance of staying up there, leading some laps, and he's gonna finish up there as well.
He and Allmendinger are criminally underpriced, in my opinion.
I couldn't agree with you more on that. Third driver this week is the newly engaged Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Oh, you're trying to you're hoping the engagement brings him good tidings on the track?
Well, not only that, but he started the race last year in 17th. He finished 3rd. So, this guy, Dale Earnhardt's got some really, really good finishes and got some good history here at the old Sonoma racetrack.
What concerns me about this pick is he still doesn't have a road course win, does he?
No, he doesn't. But, this week he qualified in the 20th spot. So that's going to put him right there in the middle with the rest of these yahoos in the back. But he's just going to have a really good chance to move up in the race. He does cost $11,900, which is a little bit pricey for a guy of his caliber at this racetrack. But I just really like the opportunity that Dale Earnhardt has this week to get you a good finish and get up there. And
what I like about this pick for Lear is that instead of going with one of the more popular picks here, like a Jeff Gordon, even though Earnhardt Jr. is extremely popular, I don't think he'll be that popular this weekend. And that helps your team get out on an island.
Yeah, no,
I totally understand what you're doing there, and I actually respect it a lot. So who's your next driver, brother?
So next driver is Carl Edwards. Okay. He qualified 14th this week. He won the race last year in 2014. So obviously he's got some good history here at the Sonoma Raceway.
And he's a Missouri boy, so you can't go wrong there.
So he's got that going for him, and he's got a new team this year. So he's with JGR, Joe Gibbs Racing, and now he's not with Roush Fenway anymore. So that's who he won the race with last year. So he's gonna have a different setup this year compared to last year.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of hoping that everything is gonna be all right with the new team and him getting up there and finishing hopefully within the top 10.
It's very possible. I'm not on him this week. And
he's $10,500.
No, I
So
totally
he's a
totally
very good price
understand.
point.
Like, he's underpriced in my opinion. I think he runs good here. Love the guy. I like your pick. It's just not one that I made.
Yeah, I gotcha. And rounding out my team is going to be a guy we already talked about in the Burning Rubber section. This is my lock, my stone cold lock, Lear lock this week.
Don't do that to us, Lear. Don't do it. Last time you were so wrong.
Jamie McMurray. Jamie, do me a favor. Please don't let me down this week. You are my guy to finish at least in the top 5 this week.
Okay.
I really do like how he drives on these road course racing, especially here at Sonoma. And not only that, he's also a Missouri guy. But, he qualified 18th, and he comes at a price point of $10,100. So he's definitely probably going to be a pretty highly owned guy.
Yeah.
And he's going to get some good pass differential points up there. But his history at this track, I mean, it's spoken for itself. He's just a really good driver at these types of races.
Mm-hmm.
And I look forward to him even possibly winning this race. So
Yeah, definitely.
do it for me, Jamie.
Well, with that said, you now have our lineups for this week. If we don't take down one of the tournaments with our money, hopefully you do. But now it's time for our question and answer segment.
I like this segment.
And this is a fun segment. And remember, if you want to submit a question, feel free to do so on the YouTube channel, on Twitter, or on fantasydonks.com, and we will answer your question when we record the show. The question this week is from the Magic Man, Cal Norton Jr. from Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
Now you know.
The Magic Man. Why does NASCAR have road courses? Baby Jesus and I just like turning left. Well, that's a legitimate question.
Yeah, it really is.
I think the sport would be less interesting a little bit if we just had the left turn courses, but unfortunately, Cal, for you and Baby Jesus, there are 2 races where you have to turn right as well.
Yeah,
and it's just how the cookie crumbles in this NASCAR.
And I know, unfortunately, Mr. Magic Man, that they do have these races basically just to get the drivers to do something different.
Mm-hmm.
And the tracks across the country, they're definitely all different types. But this one definitely separates drivers that can do multiple types of vehicles too. So we're not talking about just NASCAR drivers here, but these guys basically will separate themselves, because you just have some of the NASCAR guys just literally like doing the raceways, the speed tracks. Where you have other guys that really specialize in the road courses, which also that's why a lot of people will probably be on AJ Allmendinger this week.
And if you know anything about road courses, how many times do drivers have to shift, and how hard that is, and how many times they have to turn? This is actually like the elite pinnacle of athleticism for these drivers.
Definitely.
Not just the normal G forces that they would go through in the turns, but you're talking about it's estimated that they shift how many times? Like, do you know that?
I don't.
I believe it's thousands of times that they have that they will have to shift up and down.
Sense.
Like it's just unreal. And I've seen multiple drivers talk about how much they actually have to train in the gym, specifically for the road courses.
Yeah.
And I think that's just an interesting component, and it's really kind of cool to watch, especially when they come up over that hill, that little hill section into the turn in Sonoma. I like that. That's really cool.
And I mean, some of the turns are really, really tight, and so they're going to have to be downshifting quite a bit when they go into these turns. A lot of the turns too, the cars will get halfway up onto the side there, going around the corner. So these suspensions, that these guys have, and the teams that they have, their car setups has to be completely different from some of the other courses that they run. So I mean, this is going to be a test on these teams overall.
And that's one of the things I really like about it is these cars are built in the wind tunnels and everything to go left.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's the design of the car from the get-go. So taking those cars that are built to just go left at high speeds and making them run a road course is really interesting from an engineer perspective, a wind tunnel perspective, like a driver perspective. It's kind of like the geek races of NASCAR.
Yeah.
Like you get to geek out on a lot of technical aspects. I really like it. But with that said, hopefully you enjoyed this week's broadcast.
Thanks for the question, Cal Naughton Jr.
Remember to follow us on YouTube, favorite the channel.
Subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe. Retweet us, tweet us, favorite us, like us on Facebook, share with your friends.
Love to hear from you and love for you guys to share it.
And don't forget to support fantasydonks.com by clicking on their links. If you're going to join one of the sites, that's how we are able to bring you these shows every week for free.
Play.
And you'll get a free entry by clicking the tournament, by clicking one of those links into one of the tournaments on DraftKings. So with that said, I'm Sean Big Papa Williams.
I'm Jamie the Learjet, Cowboy Lear.
And we'll see you next weekend for the 4th of July race, which is unfortunately no longer called the Firecracker 400.
I know, it makes no sense.
I don't get it. But anyways, you guys have a great week. Good luck to you. And if we don't win, we hope you do.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
Bye.